She flung the calabash against the wall. It shattered loudly, water splashing across the dusty floor, soaking the corner where flies already gathered. Zainabu did not flinch. She lay stretched on the raffia mat, one leg crossed over the other, her face turned away from the mess she had created. "Zainabu," her mother's voice cracked from outside. "What have you done again?" Zainabu sighed, long and careless. "The water was dirty," she said without moving. "Go and fetch another one." Mama Lantana stood frozen at the doorway, her wrapper loosened from rushing, her back already aching from the earlier trip to the stream. She stared at her daughter, full-grown, glowing with beauty, smooth-skinned like polished ivory, and felt the familiar mix of pride and fear coil inside her chest. She bent down without another word and began to clean. Outside, a group of children had gathered, peeping through the fence. One of them laughed and sang softly, "Fine face, empty hands, fine face, empty hands." The song spread like smoke through Iduhoro village. Zainabu was known in Iduhoro before her name was even spoken. People simply said, "That girl," the one with eyes like ripe dates and lips shaped like a promise. Men noticed her from far away. Women watched her closely. Elders shook their heads whenever she passed. "She is beautiful," they would say, "but beauty that does not work will become a burden." Zainabu did not care. From childhood, life had been arranged to bend around her comfort. When other girls swept compounds at dawn, Zainabu slept. When they fetched water with aching shoulders, Zainabu sat under the mango tree, humming songs. When they learned to cook, to scrub pots, to wash clothes in the river, Zainabu watched her mother do it all. Mama Lantana did not complain. After her husband died suddenly, leaving her with only one child and a house full of silence, fear took root in her heart. Fear of loss, fear of suffering, fear that hardship would harden her daughter too early. "She will not struggle like I did," Mama Lantana often said. "I will carry her load." And so she did. For years. At 5, Zainabu refused to bathe herself. Mama Lantana washed her. At 10, she refused to cook. Mama Lantana cooked. At 15, she refused to sweep. Mama Lantana swept. When neighbors warned her, she laughed it off. Let the child enjoy small comfort. Life is long. But life does not wait for comfort. By 18, Zainabu's beauty had matured into something dangerous. Men came with gifts, cola nuts, soft words. They left after visiting her mother's house. "She doesn't know how to boil water," one complained. "She sleeps till the sun climbs her roof," another said. Zainabu heard the rumors and smiled. "If they can't handle me, that is their weakness," she told her friends. "My face will open doors my hands do not need to touch." Her friends exchanged glances but said nothing. Then Sadiq came. He arrived in Iduhoro one market day, his sandals dusty from travel, his voice calm, his eyes observant. He owned a small provision shop in Korama town and had come to buy palm oil. When he saw Zainabu walking past with a careless sway, laughter spilling from her lips, something stirred in him. He asked questions. People warned him. "She is trouble," an old woman said plainly. "Beautiful trouble." Sadiq smiled. "Every land has soil that needs patience." He visited Mama Lantana, spoke respectfully, brought gifts. Zainabu barely greeted him, but he did not mind. He believed love could teach where upbringing had failed. The wedding was loud, colorful, crowded. Drums beat, women danced. Zainabu sat like a queen while others worked around her. Whispers followed her even into marriage. "She didn't lift a spoon," someone muttered. The first week passed peacefully. Sadiq cooked sometimes. He swept sometimes. He waited. The second week, the waiting grew heavy. "Zainabu," he said gently one morning, "can you prepare something small before I return from the shop?" She rolled over. "I am tired. Tired from what? He asked, trying to laugh. From being alive, she replied. The house began to decay quietly, plates piled, water pots emptied, food spoiled. Zainabu stopped bathing regularly, flies multiplied. Sadiq started buying food outside, eating in silence. He tried again. We cannot live like this. She sat up, eyes flashing. This is how I was raised. If you loved me, you would understand. Love began to suffocate. When pregnancy came, it did not soften her. It hardened her excuses. I am heavy. I am sick. Do you want to kill your child? The smell in the house became unbearable. Neighbors avoided passing near. Children held their noses when she walked by. Sadiq returned home one evening, exhausted, and found the pot still empty. Something inside him broke without sound. That night, while Zainabu slept, he packed quietly. He left a note on the table. Love needs effort. I am drowning alone. When Zainabu woke and found the house empty, she laughed. He will come back, she said aloud. But days passed, hunger arrived, silence deepened, and the laughter slowly died in her throat. At first, hunger felt like a small inconvenience. Zainabu lay on the mat, rubbing her stomach, muttering, He wants to scare me. That's all. She waited for footsteps. None came. By evening, her mouth was dry. The baby kicked weakly inside her. She dragged herself to the clay pot. Empty. The basket. Empty. No money. No food. That night, sleep refused to come. By the third day, pride began to melt into fear. Zainabu tried to borrow food from a neighbor. The woman stood at her doorway, arms folded. So now you remember work, the woman said flatly. Go back to your husband. Zainabu swallowed. He stepped out. The woman laughed without humor. Men don't step out of houses like that unless they were pushed. Doors closed. On the fifth day, Zainabu walked back to her mother's compound. Her wrapper hung loose. Her hair was tangled. Her child, newly born and weak, cried endlessly. Mama Lantana saw her from afar and froze. Mother, Zainabu said, her voice breaking, I'm hungry. Mama Lantana rushed forward, then stopped suddenly. She looked at her daughter properly, at the dirt, the smell, the hollow eyes. Something inside her collapsed. Oh, my child, she whispered, tears rolling. What have I done to you? That night, Mama Lantana cooked and fed her. Zainabu ate like someone escaping death. When she finished, she stretched out her hands. Mother, she said softly, wash the plates. Mama Lantana did not move. Zainabu frowned. Mother? I will not, Mama Lantana replied quietly. The silence was sharp. What do you mean you will not? Zainabu snapped. Is this how you welcome me? Mama Lantana sat down heavily. Zainabu, I carried you too long. My back is bent, my heart is tired. From today you will stand. Zainabu laughed bitterly. Stand how? With what strength? With hunger if necessary, Mama Lantana said. You will cook, you will clean, you will bathe, or you will learn what real suffering is. Zainabu stared at her mother as if seeing her for the first time. You are punishing me? I am saving you, Mama Lantana replied. The next morning, hunger returned early. Mama Lantana sat outside, shelling groundnuts, watching. Zainabu entered the kitchen. She stared at the firewood as if it were an enemy. Her first attempt at cooking ended in disaster. The soup burned. Smoke filled the hut. Zainabu coughed, tears streaming down her face, not from smoke alone. This is impossible, she screamed, throwing the spoon down. How do people do this every day? Mama Lantana did not rush in. She only said, Try again. The neighbors watched. Whispers spread fast. Have you seen her? One woman laughed. The queen is now fighting firewood. Children followed her movements, mocking openly. Fine face, empty hands, they sang louder now. Zainabu's pride cracked piece by piece. She burned food. She oversalted. She scrubbed floors wrongly. She cried often. At night, she whispered to herself, "If Sadiq were here." Weeks passed. Slowly, her hands learned pain. Slowly, her body learned routine. She bathed regularly, not for beauty, but for relief. The house smelled cleaner. The baby gained strength. One afternoon, Auntie Bimpe passed by. She stopped, sniffed the air. "Who cooked this?" she asked. Zainabu stepped out shyly. "I did." Auntie Bimpe tasted it. She nodded slowly. "It's not perfect, but you tried." Those words felt like water on dry land. "You need work," Auntie Bimpe continued. "Real work. Come tomorrow." Zainabu hesitated. "People will mock me." "They already do," Auntie Bimpe replied. "At least this time you will be paid." The first day at the food stall nearly broke her. Customers complained. Pots were heavy. Heat burned her skin. A woman hissed, "Is this not that lazy girl?" Zainabu wanted to run. She stayed. Every night she collapsed exhausted. Every morning she rose again. Something inside her hardened, not bitterness but resolve. And one evening, as she counted her first small savings, she whispered, "I will never return to who I was." But fate was not done testing her, because on a quiet market afternoon, a familiar shadow paused at the edge of her stall, and Zainabu felt her heart stop. The shadow lingered. Zainabu looked up slowly, her hands trembling around the wooden spoon. At first, she thought hunger was playing tricks on her eyes. Then the shadow shifted, and the face became clear. Sadiq. He stood there quietly, older, leaner, his eyes deeper than she remembered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The market noise faded. The smell of stew filled the air between them. Zainabu's throat tightened. Her first instinct was anger. Her second was shame. Her third was fear. "You look well," Sadiq said finally. She laughed once, sharp and broken. "That is a lie." He glanced around. The clean stall, the neat pots, the calm way she moved despite surprise. "No," he said, "it is not." Auntie Bimpe noticed the tension and stepped aside. Zainabu wiped her hands and stepped forward. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice low. "I came to buy food," he replied honestly. "I did not know it was yours." She scooped stew into a bowl with hands that shook despite her effort. She handed it to him without meeting his eyes. He tasted it. The silence stretched. "This food," Sadiq said slowly, "was cooked with effort." Zainabu's eyes burned. "Effort I learned too late." He looked at her then. Really looked. Her face was still beautiful, but now it carried something else. Weight, depth, presence. "I did not leave because I stopped loving you," he said quietly. "I left because I was disappearing." Her chest tightened. "I thought you were weak." "I was tired," he replied. "Every day I begged for partnership. Every night I slept hungry, in body and spirit." Zainabu swallowed hard. "I was blind." They stood there, surrounded by strangers, speaking truths that had once poisoned their home. "I suffered," she continued, her voice breaking. "I was hungry, I was mocked, I was empty, and I deserved it." Sadiq said nothing. "I don't ask you to return," she added quickly. "I only want you to know, I am not that woman anymore." He nodded slowly. "I can see that." Days passed. Sadiq returned, not daily, but often enough to notice her consistency. He saw how she woke before sunrise, how she bathed and prepared, how she cared for her child with patience, how customers respected her. The village noticed too. "That lazy girl," people whispered. "She has changed." Children stopped mocking. Women nodded in approval. Some even asked her advice. Zainabu saved money carefully. When she had enough, she rented a small space near the market and named it New Root's Kitchen. She painted the sign herself. On opening day, only 3 customers came. She cooked anyway. The next week, 10 came. By the end of the month, people lined up. One evening, Sadiq visited her home. Mama Lantana watched from the corner, silent but proud. "You built this," Sadiq said softly. Zainabu nodded. "With pain." They talked long into the night, about mistakes, about pride, about growth. "I will not return to the past," Zainabu said firmly. "If we build anything, it must be new." Sadiq smiled faintly. "That is the only kind worth building." Their remarriage was quiet. No drums, no loud celebration. Just 2 people standing before elders, promising effort, not perfection. Life settled. Zainabu expanded her business. She employed 2 young girls and taught them everything she once refused to learn. "When you avoid work," she told them, "you avoid yourself." Her child grew strong. Her home stayed clean. Her laughter returned, this time grounded. One evening, at a village gathering, Zainabu stood and spoke. "I was once admired," she said, "but admiration without respect is empty. Beauty without responsibility is noise. Love without effort dies." The village listened. She ended with a quiet smile. "Pain taught me what comfort never could." And as the fire crackled and the night deepened, Iduhoro understood the lesson it had long whispered. If this story moved you, don't scroll away. Like this video, subscribe for more powerful African folk tales, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which part of Zainabu's journey touched you most? Your support keeps these stories alive.